Welcome to the best life possible, where we talk about changing your mindset, taking care of yourself, and living real good. And here's your host, Music Carolyn. Hey, y'all. Today we are talking self-love with Melissa Ruisz of Young Living. She is a brand ambassador there, but she's also an amazing friend of mine who I've known since college and who I've lived through many self-love lessons over the years. And
So
I'm
true.
excited today to talk about self-love in the way of routines, rituals, and rest today because it's one thing to kind of have self-love all willy-nilly, but there are practices that we have that really help us through. And I just wanted to talk to Melissa about the practices that she has done, but also those that she shares. Obviously, Affirmtats is one that creates ritual out of setting intentions, right? With words of affirmation and wearing words of affirmation. But through her work and through her life, there are additional routines and practices and rituals that we'll talk about today. So, welcome,
Yes.
Melissa.
Thank you so much for having me. And let's just pretend like we weren't talking for a whole hour before this
We're gonna act like it,
about our
okay?
lives. Yes.
Yes, everyone. We are really, really friends, and as much as we would have liked to just get on and focus on routines and rituals, we had some catching up to do.
Yes, that's right. As always. As always. That was
As
the pre-party.
always. Yes, it
Yes.
was. Um, wow. So I will just say this week has been rough for me, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna blame it on the fact that my routines and my rituals have kind of been off. I'm used
Yeah.
to meditating in the morning, and this week, at least twice, I did them at night instead of the morning. Not because I didn't wake up on time, but just I prioritized things differently. And I think that has something to do with why I feel a little off. Um,
I
another
feel the
routine
same
that I
way.
have, yeah,
Oh, go
another
ahead.
routine that I have is going to the garden. There's different gardens that are open, and I generally get to at least one garden at least once a week, and I haven't in the last 2 weeks, and I do feel the difference. So,
Right.
can you talk about kind of honoring those little things that you do for yourself and how you may be thrown off and maybe even how you get back to those rituals?
Absolutely. I resonate with that so much because I feel like I am a creature of routine. I've been thinking about this a lot today, and I do realize that, 2020 was a rough year for everybody. A lot of us have been stuck at home,
Mhm.
and it wasn't even that bad of a year for me,
Yep.
considering.
Yep.
And I really
Same.
attribute it was rough. There were definitely rough patches, but I feel like I've had worse. And I
Mhm.
think what has kept me sane and grounded has been some of these routines and rituals that I have. One of
Yep.
the things that we were going to talk about today is rest. So, like, as much as like the pandemic and being on lockdown and everything has thrown at us and has forced us to change our routines and change what we're doing every single day, I will tell you, I have been able to get more consistent rest at night than I ever have.
Yep.
And it has to do with these blessings in disguise of I don't have to wake up extra early and get ready to commute to work. I can
Mhm.
just get up right before, get my son ready for school, drop him off, and come
Yep.
back, have my coffee. That's one of my routine. Like that is one of my routines, like one of my rituals. And it sounds so simple, like who doesn't, I mean, not everybody does coffee, but you have your little things, your little habits that you do every single day. And it
Mhm.
really, for me, that predictability helps ground me and helps me manage just what I'm doing throughout the day, so that when there is other stuff that is thrown at me that's unexpected, it
Yeah.
isn't as off-putting. So, like, just in the morning, like coffee is a ritual because I'm not a morning person at all.
Mhm.
Um, I'm
Mhm.
I'm I'm a more of a late night person, as you can tell, since we're recording this so late. And so it's like one of those things that, like, yes, I like the caffeine, but I like the whole process of like brewing it and then adding my creamer and adding my sweetener, and then I put
Mhm.
like whipped cream on it, and it's like my little treat that like helps me get through the morning, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just little things like that. And then I'm into essential oils, as you know, you could probably guess, since
Mhm.
I'm a distributor for Young Living. And so another ritual that I've been starting in the morning with my son, and that's another thing too, is there's things that I do on my own, but it's so
Mhm.
rewarding to sort of do like routines and rituals like with your kids or with like other people that you can share that with. And so
Yeah.
we have our little ritual of, we have these essential oil roll-ons that we'll put on, and then we just say some daily affirmations like, I am,
Mhm.
worthy of love. I welcome all good things to happen to me. And my son's favorite, because he's 6 years old, and he kind of knows the routine as well. So he'll like try to
Mhm.
beat me to the punch. The last one is joy flows through me. So we're sort of like putting the essential oils on, and like,
Mhm.
breathing in all of that like goodness, and like just saying these positive things to sort of like create, try to create like a positive day. And
Mhm.
so that's one of our morning rituals. We also like, we take different supplements together, like,
Mhm.
that are good for us. And then I'll always ask him about his day when he comes home. And then like at night we do we so I have another roll on that helps him for sleep, and every single night I will roll that on his spine and on his like big toe, because that's where you have big pores there, and
Mhm.
so they absorb better, and it helps him with sleep. But he also comes to expect, like, just this is what we do. And then the other thing we do as well is I don't remember where I heard it. It was an interview, I think, with either President Obama or Michelle Obama, and they were saying that like, even though, while they were in office, like, things were really chaotic, they always tried to have dinner together, and then they would discuss their roses and thorns, like the positive things that happened during the day and the negative
Mm,
things
yeah.
that happen during the day. Yes. And so this
Mhm.
is one thing that I started with my son at night, when we're doing after we've read our books and like put on the like oils to help for sleep, then we'll do our roses and thorns, and we'll talk about like the positive things that happened for us during the day, and then the negative things that happened. And it's just like, it's
Mhm.
this way that we can connect and keep like the communication open, especially if like some of those thorns are some sort of like conflict or disagreement that we had earlier. It like offers up this other opportunity for us to discuss it a little bit
Mm.
more, to like process it. And I feel like that's
Yeah.
really so crucial.
Yes, of course it is. I mean, it sounds like y'all are routine down. Like, I brought you on because I knew that you did a lot of rituals and that, but I didn't know it was literally like morning, noon, and night.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, like like, consider like the pandemic and like everything that the kids are going through, and
Mhm.
like there's just so much more time. Like, that's the thing, is like, you can look at this as like, oh my god, I'm so bored, I can't go anywhere, I can't do these things. But really,
Mhm.
like, I have tried to spin this around to, I have so much more time with my son. Like, I have more
Mhm.
energy because I can sleep. So what, like,
Yeah.
I've really taken this past year and thought about, what are the things that we can add into our daily life that like are positive and like will help us, like, just
Mhm.
get through. And so, like, same thing you were saying, like, I've noticed that when I don't do these things, when I don't meditate at night for 15 minutes before I go to bed, like,
Yep.
I get thrown off the rails as well. And
Mhm.
so, even though humans need, like, we like the novelty, we don't want to be doing the same, like, we can get bored with the same stuff. At the same time, like, sometimes those routines, like, I am a creature of habit, and I notice that if I'm thrown off because, you know I love traveling, but one thing that I've noticed is that even though I enjoy the new experience of traveling and being somewhere else and like doing something else, I'm out of my routine. And so
Yeah.
sometimes it stresses me out or throws me off. And then when I get back home, it's almost like, I'm home. Like I can get
Mhm.
back to like my normal routine and my work and all of that stuff, which I really so appreciate. Like it helps me stay like just grounded again, like into, not letting things get to me, I guess. So
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I guess this might be a good time to at least try to give a definition to what ritual is. I'm actually in the midst of listening to, because I am not reading it, I'm listening to the audiobook for The Power of Ritual. And I'll apologize now because I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce the author's name correctly, but it's by Casper ter Quill, um, or probably Keel. Um, but yeah, he is the author of The Power of Ritual. And the definition given is rituals are patterned, repeated ways in which we enact the moral emotions of compassion, gratitude, awe, bliss, empathy, and ecstasy.
Mm.
Um, and that's so deep for me because another really big explanation of ritual that they give is the four types of ritual. So there's connection with self, there's connection with others, there's connection with nature, and there's connection with the transcendent.
Wow.
And that spiritual connection. And what I'm realizing is this is exactly what I'm talking about has thrown me off. The fact that my connection with self has been moved from morning to evening this
Mm.
past week. I've
Mm-hmm.
actually recently had what I'm now calling a relationship transition, right?
Mm.
We're
Mm-hmm.
not going to call them breakups because they're not breakups. They just transition to a different iteration of things.
Mm.
Now, if there's a death, then that's a loss, okay? But
Right.
I am now calling relationships in the way that I operate in them. They are transitions. I recently divorced, and that wasn't a breakup, it was a transition. And so, in this transition of this relationship, that connection to others is changing, right? So, that
Mm-hmm.
ritual is no longer there to connect in a certain way with this person. And then the
Right.
connection with nature, which, like I said, I go to gardens. This is what I do, right? Um, this
Mm-hmm.
past week, this past week, it rained a lot in LA, and by a lot, I mean for a day and a half.
Wow.
Because that's a lot in LA. Um, and so going to the garden, the fact that it's colder was just like, do I still want to go? You know what I mean? So that has
Yep.
changed. And then I still do my devotional. I have like a 365-day devotional, so a daily devotional that has a morning element and an evening element. So I
Mm-hmm.
do that. And then I also do something called Encounter. Shout out to Encounter. And it's like a 15-minute, I guess we'll call it a podcast, but it always focuses on a Bible scripture, but it also has you kind of recite certain messages back to God. So it's almost kind of like
Hmm.
guided prayer more than it
Mm-hmm.
is um, a podcast, because you're not listening to them talk to each other, but them kind of proclaiming the word and then having you kind of pray back to God or speak back to God, like, please, it is, and it's repetitive and all of that. Um, so, so
Yep.
yeah, so those, I practice every one of these four types of ritual, and it sounds like you do too, which is amazing.
To an extent, it's interesting. I was gonna say that. So I've started going back to church with one of my really good
Oh wow.
friends up here. The past
Mhm.
2 weeks past 2 or 3 weeks we've gone, but we were on the fence about going this morning because there was a huge snowstorm in Chicago, which lasted
Mhm.
last night into today, and it was even snowing today. So we texted each other and we're like, should we go? And she said, oh, the roads are kind of bad over here. Maybe, we don't have to. And they had like an online service anyway. So it was like, well, why risk it? So even though I was trying to start that habit or ritual, like even we
Mhm.
didn't get to do it, but instead, my son and I went outside in the backyard and were playing in the snow and like made a snowman, and like it actually got me out into nature when, I'll be honest, like, I grew up in the Chicago area. Even though I've moved around, like we've come back here after my relationship transition, um,
Mhm.
my, divorce. And
Mhm.
so in the winter, I don't like to go out that much because I don't like the cold that much. So I tend to
Mhm.
say that I hibernate. I don't
Mhm.
like going out, but it was one of those things where I even had friends being like, "Oh, you're gonna take Ben out in the snow?" And I was like, "All right, yeah, we better do this," because it was a nice big snow. And like, even though it was something I was dreading because I'm like, "Oh, it's gonna be cold and uncomfortable." Once we got out there and we were layered up, it really wasn't that cold at all. And I had such a blast playing with him in the snow that it was
Yeah.
something I hadn't really done in years, So it was just, again, it was like, even though I didn't get to stick with the ritual or the like habit that I was trying to start with going to church, it was its own form of connection to me with like nature,
Yeah.
with my son, and like even with the transcendent in a way. So yeah, like it's one of those things that I feel like sometimes I feel like maybe I can get too rigid with
Mhm.
like ritual and habit, but like that being able to like sort of be open to the flexibility of, well, that ritual ain't happening today because life
Yeah.
happens, especially with kids, and like
Yeah.
just sort of like being open to like whatever it is that does happen, and like being aware in the moment. Like I can easily get frustrated like when I'm thrown off, but I'm learning to at least be more aware of those like feelings of like frustration, and to really like just be more conscious of it. Like why, yeah, it's throwing you off, but I don't know. I've really been one of the other things, habits that I've been trying to start in the new year, is like reading more books, and like not on my
Mhm.
phone, like as an ebook, because like I have very sensitive eyes. I used to be able to wear contacts. I can't anymore because of like my eyes get very, oh, here's the other thing. They get easily like irritated. And I've now found
Mhm.
out that like even when I cry, I can get an infection. Like I can get like it gets to the point where I have to either go to the doctor or like put some steroid drops in my eye. So for me, somebody who is like, sometimes you need a good cry when like you're having a bad day or something bad happens, and knowing
Yeah.
that oh, well, I could like be stuck like going to the doctor if I do cry. It creates like this, almost like this tension, or like I want to have a good cry, but if I do, like it'll affect my eyes. So like learning to, yeah, like learning to create learning to have strategies or things to deal with emotions, not because I want to hold them back and like hold them in, but because I literally like don't want to affect my health, like my eye health,
Yeah.
if I do cry. So like we talked about all of the like our daily like rituals, and like I've also this past year have been developing, or like have been just trying out, testing like just different practices for when things are really bad and like when you're having a really
Yes.
bad day.
Yeah.
So like I'll throw it back on you. Like what are some things or practices you do when it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm so emotional and I'm like I feel like I'm breaking down? Like how do you manage that?
Like, honestly, Affirmtats was born out of this idea that literally when I would get this negative self-talk, I would grab a tattoo that would address that and apply it. Like, it has become a way for me to pivot and stop
Mm.
those thoughts and say no. Like this morning, I put on the one that says, "Today I choose ease, self love, and acceptance."
Mhm.
And it's like, you're emotional today. It's okay. We're not going
Yep.
to feel bad about you being emotional. We're not going to try to
Right.
stop you from being emotional. We're just going to
Mhm.
say, it's okay. We're going to work with this today. We're going to speak through with ease. We're going to practice self love, and we're going to accept that this relationship has transitioned. We're going to accept that things are fine, um, but they are also different. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Right.
Um, and that is like one of the hardest things to just accept when things change, right?
Right. Mhm.
And I also kind of, wrote down some things about my thoughts about things. And it's like, it's not even that I want anything to go back, right? I
Mhm.
accept that this has changed, but I just think about, man, I have to grieve the purity of certain connections, but you'll never get them back,
Mhm.
and so
Yep.
that was a long way around to what I was saying, but that's what I've had to do. I literally just find a tattoo that addresses my negative self-talk. So that's one.
Yeah.
Another
Yeah. And you
thing
said
is,
journaling too, right? Journaling,
yes,
like writing
journaling.
it down.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
writing it down,
Mhm.
and thinking through. I know this is part of it. I don't know if I could call it a ritual, but I literally ask myself, well, what do you want?
Yeah.
You're having this emotional moment, and that's fine, but let's figure out what you want in this moment. And the truth
Mm.
is, oh, I'm crying, but it's not that I want this back. I just want to be
Mhm.
able to grieve that it's different now. So it's
Right.
almost like, it's okay. You can cry over something that's done and not feel bad about the fact that you don't want it back. You're not trying to strive for anything. You're just crying over the lost connection.
Mhm.
And that's okay.
Yep.
You
Right.
know?
Right.
So I do. That's that. I get that. I guess that is a ritual, because I literally sometimes say out loud, "What do you want?"
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
So
what do you need in this particular moment? You know?
yep.
And then
And I practice that
also,
with my kids. I
yeah.
ask them, "What do you want in this moment? You're whining. I understand. You're not feeling well. It's okay to be upset, but what do you want in this moment?"
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does take some insight to really know sometimes, right? Like, what is it that I want? I'm really upset about the situation. What is it that I want or need right now? Or what is it that like, we're talking about like loss or the feeling of loss or the feeling of grieving. Like, what am I
Yeah.
grieving the loss of? And so if I think that's gone, then what is it that I can do in order to give that to myself, maybe in another way? And so, one thing that I feel like I've been grieving this past year is
Mhm.
connection with somebody else that I could have deep conversations with. Like sometimes people poke fun at me because I go deep. Like I like talking about like the struggles and like dreams. What is it you want in life? You only get one. Stuff like that. That sometimes I can find a kindred spirit like you to talk to about that, but that's not always easy to find. And so there have been times when I've grieved just not always having like that one person that I could talk to about stuff like that. And so I've learned that, okay, maybe that person and I can't have these deep conversations anymore, but they're not the owner of deep conversations. Like there are other people in
Yeah.
my life that I can have those conversations with. That doesn't
Mhm.
have to be that person. And so just even being able to realize like, this is what I feel like I'm missing. And so what can I do? What can I incorporate as a practice or a ritual in my life? And for me, maybe that means reaching out to friends to talk, like
Mm.
to have genuine conversations on a more regular basis. Cause I'm not one of those people that is always checking in with all of my friends. I'm very, and it's not, It's just how I am. Like,
Yeah.
if I don't have a specific reason to reach out in the past, I wouldn't have. But now I'm realizing that that's something that I want and need in my life. And so I'm trying to be more intentional about reaching out to people, because like I found that it's not only, it sounds very self-serving. And I was telling you about this, like when we were talking earlier about like, I just so appreciate you, like being able to talk
Mm,
about like this kind of stuff with you. But I realize that I'm not the only one that needs that. Like when I reach out to other people, they're going through stuff too, and they need somebody that they can talk to as well. And so it's this beautiful, like reciprocal thing that happens when you connect with
mhm.
other people, that like it's just so important when we are in a situation right now, a worldwide situation where we are so isolated, to like really, just find ways to connect with some people. Like they have it easy. They got like 100 friends, like, and I'm not one of those
Mhm.
people. Like I have very, like, I really guarded with my energy. I
Yeah.
consider myself like an extroverted introvert or an ambivert or whatever, that I do love
Mhm.
connecting with other people, but like it drains me so much that I have
Yeah.
to really limit like who I'm around, like if I know that they're draining and it's just going to be a one-sided conversation. So that's one thing for me. Journaling is something that I do as well. Another thing, that, have you heard of this? So when I'm having like a really emotional, like I'm like crying, like I can't handle it.
Mhm.
I came across this thing called the emotional freedom technique. Have you heard of this? It's
Mhm.
like the tapping, and basically what it is like you're tapping different points on your body, while you're saying, it's sort of an affirmation, but it's more of like this acceptance, like two-part acceptance statement, where it's like,
Mhm.
even though I'm feeling all of this anger about the transition, about this relationship or whatever, even though I'm feeling, all of these things, so that's the sort of like the setup. And then after that, you say, I, something along the lines of, I completely love and accept myself anyway. So
Yeah.
you're tapping on different parts of your body as you're like saying this. And I don't understand all of the science. All I know is it works for me, and it's worked for other people too. That
Yeah.
it really drops down that like intense like emotion, so that it's so much more manageable. And people use this for all
Mhm.
kinds of things. It's not just emotions, it's even for like physical pain, lots
Mhm.
of different things. Like they use it for addiction, like to different things as well. So that's like another, like I can't handle this right now. That's one thing that I haven't had to do that in quite a while, but
Yeah.
right at the end of like certain relationships, like definitely something I was using a lot more. The other thing that I will say too, that has helped me so much through this path, like through 2020, and even before that, but like exercise. So
Mhm.
it's not just about like staying healthy. For me, I look at it as a self-care practice, because it it when I'm having a really really crappy day,
Yeah.
if I exercise, like do a high intensity whatever, like weights and like a little more intense, it
Mhm.
helps me move that negative energy out of my body much
Yeah.
faster than just like saying affirmations or some of these other things. And so like trying to do that on a regular basis for me has been really helpful when I'm just like feeling like I'm going off the rails. I'm like I'm so off, I'm in a funk, I don't want to get out of bed. So
Mhm.
like it just, I think it just has to do with like moving your body, like getting those endorphins, breathing, like there's so much like practice,
Mhm.
like meditation and anything else has to do with the breath and breathing. And when you exercise, like you're breathing that much more. So I
Right.
like that's another practice that like I found that has helped me so much with like just really tough situations, like really tough days. And there's days that I don't like, just don't feel up to it either. I'm not like some sort of like, I do it no matter what. There are days that I don't feel like it because it's just really rough. And so, you always have to find the other things. And I think you kind of hit on just the fact that like what we say to ourselves, the negative self-talk or the positive self-talk is so like sometimes we're not even conscious of like what we're saying to ourselves in the moment.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Oh
and
my
and
God, so true.
I find that when I get up in the morning, it's very easy for me to like start with the negative, like ruminating and just not necessarily talking bad about myself, but like having a negative mindset. And I
Mhm.
found that what I do is there's this concept called like reparenting, and it's like just basically like talking to yourself like you're your own kid. Like, how would you talk to your own kid who's dealing with like some negative emotions, and really just trying to encourage yourself and tell yourself like these positive things, like as if you were
Yeah.
telling your best friend that was going through a really difficult situation. So like, yeah, girl, like that's the same thing, like same kind of stuff,
Mhm.
just to help with those really difficult situations. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. That so yeah. Like I don't even know how else to respond. It's just like, yes.
Yes. Yes. Just
Oh
even
my
simple
gosh.
stuff like taking a hot shower. Like sometimes just a hot shower helps me like reset. Like I know that sounds so basic, but
Yeah.
like just the little things like that are so important to like having a better day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's important also. I mean, I know you said you're like the routine person, but like we haven't explored the concept of rest.
Mm.
I would say that even though I haven't had a lot of issues with rest, I feel like the pandemic has created so many people who have insomnia really badly, or
Mhm.
otherwise their sleep pattern is completely off. And I'm thinking to myself, what is wrong with y'all? I love my rest and I can rest so much better now. But it's clear that it has affected other people in a completely different way.
Right.
And I just want to talk
Yes.
about ways that we can help people go to sleep and get the rest. Can you talk about
Yes.
maybe the essential oils piece?
Yep.
And I'll talk about some strategies I have too.
Absolutely. So the most popular essential oil that's out there that really does help a lot with rest is lavender. Lavender is good for so many things, but it's definitely good for relaxation, and you can find lavender almost anywhere. Now, I do believe like Young Living's is the best, of course. Like it's like the most pure. They really do have
Mhm.
like they own their own like farms, and they go through this whole testing process, but like lavender itself is a great essential oil for helping with sleep, like diffusing it, or if you don't have a diffuser, you can like put some on the palms of your hands and breathe it, like
Mhm.
cup it over your mouth, and you can breathe it in.
Mhm.
Another really great essential oil, and so this is my combo I use almost every single night with my son, is I'll put
Mhm.
lavender and then I'll put cedarwood. Cedarwood will it's like one of those sleepy oils that will help you relax and really sort of put you in that more relaxed state to help you sleep. So that's another one. Vetiver is another one that's not so well known. That's also good
Mhm.
for sleep.
Okay.
I didn't like it at first because it was a really strong smell, but I love it now. It's kind of got like this woodsy, really earthy kind of scent to it. So like if you were to combine lavender, cedarwood, and vetiver together, they would be like that would be an excellent combo. One more I will mention, but only like I actually you can get this if you want, but I really dislike the smell on its own. So I will only
Mhm.
mix it with lavender or with something else. But valerian is another essential oil that is really really good for supporting sleep. But to me, like it just kind of has this um almost like cat urine kind of smell to it. I don't know. It's just like a
What?
little bit, yeah, like it's a little bit more like, it's not my favorite smelling oil, but it works. Like it really, like I've noticed that when I use it, like it does help me like sleep a lot more, but I have to mix it with like lavender and cedarwood and other stuff too, because I don't like the smell on its own. So that's the thing, like
Mhm.
essential oils, like they like the smell is one aspect to them that really can help, whether it's relaxation or like applying it topically with like some coconut oil to help with like skin. Lavender is really good for that too. But there's other like constituents, there's other properties to them that go beyond like just, oh, it smells good and I like the smell. They actually can help like different systems of your body and like support wellness and support these other things that you need.
Mhm.
So those are my recommendations for sleep.
Yeah.
Along with like melatonin, CBD, things like that.
Yeah, I haven't tried. I've tried the melatonin. They have these little gummies. I give them to my children. I generally try to stay away from
Mm-hmm.
those. Because they do. I mean, some people don't have this, but I just don't like how it really brings me down quickly the few times I've used it. I'm just
Okay.
like, wait,
Yeah.
wait, wait. No, no, do not. I didn't need anybody to put me to sleep. I just wanted to get
Mm.
sleepier. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean?
Right, right, right.
So
Yes.
I try not to take the melatonin. I haven't tried CBD, but yeah, in terms of me, like I am a sound person. So
Yes.
I really need ocean, sounds of the ocean, or really any sounds of any type of water, honestly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, creeks, streams,
Uh-huh.
ocean waves, anything that involves water trickling over some other object
It doesn't
will
ma- it doesn't have
generally.
it doesn't make you have to like get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night.
Not at all. Not at
Oh,
all.
okay.
It doesn't
That's
stay
good.
on the whole time. I use
Yeah.
the Calm app, and there's other apps. There's Shine. There's a number of different apps. So
Yeah, I
definitely
have
do your research.
Brain FM. That's the one that I use.
Okay. I know there's a
Yes, that's a good one.
Happify app. I know there's so many different apps. So literally just search, apps like Calm or apps like Shine, and you should be able to find different options for how you can either have access to sounds of water or even little
Hmm.
sleep meditations, sleep stories. There's so many
Even
ways that.
YouTube.
Yes, YouTube will be on all night. If that's what you choose. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
Like they literally
Yeah,
have 8-hour things, but I think
right.
most of these apps kind of cut off after an hour or two.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but YouTube, if you need 8 hours of that, do that.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so I just want to kind of wrap this up and just say like this self-love thing is a practice. It is not a day, it's daily, right? And it should be something that's so intentional that you can literally say, oh, there are 4 types of rituals. Hmm, what do I do to connect to myself? What do I do to connect with others on a daily basis? What do I do to connect with nature? Do I watch the sunrise? That has been something that I've embraced during the pandemic because I'm not having to drive as much anymore. I'm a morning person. I love the morning. I wake up at 5:30 naturally. Like I do not need
Wow,
an
girl.
alarm. Yeah,
Woo!
I do not need an alarm. And
Oh
so
boy.
I know, right? um even if I go to bed late, like tonight I'll go to bed late, like my body will still be like, hey, it's 5:30, what's up, let's watch the sunrise, you know.
Wow.
um and I have this beautiful, like I have this balcony where I can kind of catch the sunrise right over the mountain, but then I can also walk out, and I live really close to a highway, so if I really want to see the full sunrise, I can just walk out to the overpass of the highway and really watch the sunrise. And it does something for me that I cannot
Hmm.
explain. Now, I
Hmm.
rushed to catch a sunset a couple times at the beach, and that also just does something for me. It's a huge thing. And so even though I've missed my garden time, which usually would just kind of engulf me in the greenery of it all, I
Hmm.
have caught sunrises and sunsets the whole week, and that has kept me connected. It's just different. It's not what I would usually do. But
Hmm.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, come on. I thank you so much for talking to me about your routines and rituals and your rest. And did you want to go ahead and tell people how they can get in touch with you with the Young Living, or just follow you on social media?
Yeah, follow me on social media. It's Melissa, Mayleesa. Message me. But yeah, I mean, like honestly, wherever you get your essential oils, like there's a lot of misconceptions about them. So like, I encourage people to just sort of like learn more about them and be open minded to them, because there's so many myths that like they're snake oils and they don't really work and like all of these different things, and they really can be part of your daily routine, their daily rituals. Like I can't imagine my life without them now, because like they help me and they help my family and my son in so many different ways. So like just get the ball rolling and start like learning more about them and how they can really help you, because they really do change people's lives.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I will just co-sign, like, yes. Because I have an electric diffuser. Like I was just saying, I didn't have the best day today, but I said, you know what? I'm going to diffuse probably some orange oil and some lavender together, because the orange actually is supposed to be, or I've heard that it kind of wakes people up a little bit, like it's a morning thing
Yeah,
it would be best for.
uplifting.
It's
Hmm.
uplifting, but it's night and I ain't feeling real Carolyn right now. So I'm like, girl, you need some orange in the evening to just get that boost of energy, because I'm a very high energy person. And so when I do feel emotional, or I do feel like I'm not as high vibes as I would be, I'm like, help me out, essential oils.
Yes, yes, same.
um yeah.
Yeah, my
So
favorite
yeah.
one, I was just gonna say my favorite oil that I use like for so many things. Like when I'm feeling down, it's a blend called Valor that Young
Mhm.
Living has. It the story real quick behind it is this blend of, it's like frankincense, blue tansy. What else? I think there's some like camphor wood in there as well, and geranium.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
it is back in the day, like Romans used to use it before they went into battle to help them with both like physical and emotional, like issue. You're about to go into battle, you could die. And so the Young Living like developed this blend like based off of it. And I tell you, like I roll it on for, so like if I have a presentation, I rolled it on right
Mhm.
before this interview. Like it, when I'm feeling down, I roll it on. It smells so good. Like it really, like, yes, has that like positive effect, and like gives you like that little extra courage that you need to sort of get through your day or get through whatever it is. So telling
Yeah.
you, like life changing stuff here.
Yeah. That's, yeah. So I don't even like, I'm just
I know.
reflecting. I'm just like, yes. Um yeah, so everyone, I'm Music Carolyn. I am the founder of Affirmtats. I am not what I call a yoga expert or any type of expert in terms of knowledge. I'm an expert in doing the work and finding ways to better myself on a daily basis. My goal is that you find the way that you personally can start to love yourself more. And we do that through Affirm Tats. At least that's one way that I've done it. These wearable words of affirmation, temporary tattoos of affirming words to get you through your day, no matter what your circumstance. But if there's other ways that you do that, which is through your rest, through your rituals, through your routine, I wish you all the best as you move towards that. You can find me on social media at Music Carolyn, but please do also follow Affirm Tats at AffirmTats, and we will see you guys on the best life possible the next time around. Thank you for listening to the Best Life Possible podcast with Music Carolyn. You can find us setting intentions on Sundays on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Affirmtats. You can also get your wearable words of affirmation at affirmtats.com.